we always came back victorious. That wasn't the issue. Um, but there were some that were more upsetting than others. There was a couple times where I kind of broke down a little bit. Looking back on it, I think it was understandable, but on one of them, my boat was a lead boat doing minesweep duty, and there was two of us, two boats leading a column of 30 boats or so. We were we had a winch on the back of the boat with a big chain with hooks on it. And it was to catch wires from VC that might be sitting in the jungle ready to blow up a boat as it went over say a 500-pound mine that was rigged to explode. So we were going down the river with my boat in the lead, and we reached a point where my boat captain yelled to me to climb out of the top of my gun mount and go on the stern of the boat and crank in the minesweep gear. So I did that, and as I started cranking in the minesweep gear, a rocket came out from, I don't know, 30, 40 yards away and hit the water right at my feet, right at the water line of our boat. It was the opening salvo of firefight that hit the whole line. Fortunately, at the time, there was a monitor right behind me with a 105 howitzer that happened to be pointed right there. And it fired immediately at the bunker. I don't know if he hit him or not. I lunged to get back into the boat, and I fell. And I remember this was one of the most vivid parts of that operation that stays with me, falling, and my helmet and my glasses fell off, and I didn't know which to grab first, but I was on my knees and my elbows trying to slither into the deck. I had to slide into the well deck of the boat so that I could come back up the ladder and into my gun mount. We had the firefight for, like I said, about 20 minutes, something like that. It all died down, and we felt that it was over with. And my boat captain said, "Okay, SATER, go out and bring in the minesweep gear." And so I climbed out of the boat and I went back on the stern and started cranking in the minesweep gear again. And again, a rocket came out and hit the water at the water line next to my feet. And I got back in the boat as fast as I could. We had the firefight for 20, 25 minutes. And then when it was over, my boat captain said, "Okay, SATER, go out and bring in the minesweep gear." And at that point, I was just fried, and I just screamed at God. I looked up through the gun mount and I told God, "If you're going to kill me, just kill me." I just kept screaming at him, and then I climbed out and brought in the minesweep gear, and nothing happened. And I felt bad. The port gunner, Glenn Ledford, a good friend of mine, I remember after that, he told me that he felt really bad because he said that if anything happened to me while I was out there, that he didn't think he'd be able to go out and get me. And I remember telling him not to worry about that I wouldn't have gone out to get me either. But that was one of the ones that stands out in my mind the most. Um, Another time, we were on an operation. We were in a very narrow tributary. We beached, and boats on both sides of the river, spaced out. And we didn't know it, but we beached to insert troops right where VC and I understand NVA were waiting for us. We dropped the bow ramps, and as soon as we dropped the bow ramps and everything opened up all around us, my gun wouldn't swing around towards the bow to shoot at the VC on our side of the river. So I just started firing in between the boats on the other side of the river. It was so intense that I just started laughing hysterically. My boat captain was yelling back at me. He says, "SATER, SATER, are you okay? Are you okay?" I just kept laughing, and I said, "This is fun. This is fun." And I was shooting in between the boats, and I don't know who the guy was, but later a guy on the other side of the river told me that if I came a foot closer to his boat, he was going to turn his gun on me. And I said, "I knew what I was doing. I was just trying to get as close to your boat as I could to hit anybody that was trying to, shoot you guys. So I was just trying to get as close as I could." But those two incidents stayed with me my whole life. When I was laughing, the strange thing about it is that I felt sort of like I was standing outside my body looking at me and saying, who is that crazy man? I was always afraid that either one of those guys would come out at some point during my life. But as I get older, I understand that those were extreme moments that probably would have gotten to a lot of people. When we went to a little uh, village one time, and a Vietnamese tailor was selling this. We flew this from my boat, Tango 9, for a brief time. We didn't have it very long, but we flew it in between our antennas, which looking back on it was really not a very prudent thing to do. It was just sort of poking the VC in the eye. But that was one of the things we did for fun. We one one time I remember it was a very boring day. We were all sitting on the helipad on top of the boat on Tango 9, and it was a hot day, humid, just not doing anything, kind of languishing around. And we were all sitting there kind of mopey. Then we look over and we saw a duck floating down the river. Without saying a word, all of us looked at the duck, and then we looked at the case of grenades. Then we looked at the duck. Then we looked at the case of grenades. And we each, without saying a word, picked up these concussion grenades and started throwing them at this duck that was going down the river. And the concussion grenades, the river, it's not a fragmentation grenade, but we were all hitting all around this duck, and the duck just kept going down the river, bobbing up and down. And I don't know if I hurt it or all. Like I said, it wasn't a fragmentation grenade. We used these it was a concussion grenade. We used it to keep divers from doing anything to the ships in the middle of the river. So I don't know if it hurt the duck at all, but yeah, we did some crazy things. We had a boat captain on the first boat I was on Tango 3, who we didn't care for at all. And I won't use his name. I haven't seen him since. He hasn't come to the reunions, but he used to make us work when we really didn't have to, and he was just kind of hard on us. He told one of the guys one time when we were tied up to one of the ships to go up and get some bologna sandwiches. So the guy came back with a bologna sandwich for each of us, and the boat captain was down on the well deck while we got our sandwiches. And while he was down on the well deck, we all took his sandwich and we did things to it that he wouldn't have appreciated. We each used it to kind of get all the grime off of our bodies. Then we sat there and waited for him to come up, and each of us sat around and smiled while we watched him eat a sandwich. So that's kind of disgusting, but it was, again, in those situations, you have kind of a warped sense of humor. The guys went out, they saw a VC flag in the middle of a rice paddy. Several of the guys went out to get it, and my boat captain yelled at me to go out into the rice paddy and tell those guys to get back and leave that flag alone. It was probably booby trap. They talked me into helping them get it instead. We took our shirts and belts and pants and whatever and made a line so that we tied it around the flag and got back as far as we could with this jury-rigged rope we made out of all of our clothing and pulled it down. But it was, we always did worry about booby traps. When we went down the river, one of the things we did all the time, well, actually on bid patrol, when we were circling the ships, if there was something floating down the river, a clump of vegetation, a tree, anything like that, we would throw a grenade at it or shoot at it with a shotgun or M16, something like that. And that was a 24/7 operation. And we always had boats doing that for the ships. Anytime you saw anything floating in the river, you had to be kind of wary of it.